The rain drummed steadily against the window, a dreary percussion that matched the tempest brewing inside me. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the peeling paint on the walls of my little room in Maplewood, Ohio. The clock ticked loudly, each second echoing like a metronome of my anxious heartbeat. Today marked exactly 1 year since the day everything unraveled, the day Walter betrayed me in the most unimaginable way. It felt like a cruel joke of fate that I'd be staring back at this memory now, on the anniversary of my downfall. I hated him for it, and I hated myself for letting him worm his way back into my life like a snake in the grass. As the rain swirled around outside, I clenched my jaw, a fire igniting in my chest. I can't let this go on, I murmured to myself, my voice a very soft whisper in the heated silence of my room. It had been a year filled with heartache and frustration, but I felt something bubbling up inside me. It's time to fight back. I stood and paced the room, my sneakers squeaking against the worn wooden floor. I couldn't keep pretending that things were fine when they were anything, but the betrayal was still fresh, festering like an open wound. I reached for my phone, feeling its cool smoothness in my palm as I remembered that fateful day, Walter's betrayal sinking its claws into my life. "You really think I'm going to let you go?" he had said with a cocky grin, brushing his fingers through his tousled hair. He'd always worn that devil-may-care attitude like a badge of honor. "You're lucky I still want you, Clara." My stomach twisted at the memory of his words, each one dripping like poison. I recalled the way his blue eyes danced as if he held all the power. "You'll see, I'm not so easy to shake off." The exit of joy in my heart and the entrance of bitterness felt like an eternity ago, yet the pain was sharp and unyielding. They say that time heals, but who was I kidding? Instead, the pain transformed itself into a dark ambition, a sweet promise of revenge that played in my mind. I slid my finger across the screen and scrolled through my contacts until I settled on Maeve's name. I pressed the call button, feeling a surge of desire for the support of my closest friend. The phone rang, and each ring was more torturous than the last. "Come on, pick up," I breathed, half expecting her to answer and half praying she wouldn't, fearing that if she did, she might talk me out of what I was planning. "Hello?" Maeve's voice made my heart leap, a familiar comfort spilling through the line like warm tea. "Clara, is everything okay?" "Depends on how you look at it," I said, my stomach twisting with excitement and fear. "What is it?" "Need your help," I said, steeling my resolve for what was to come. "You know how Walter has been. That slimeball, oh Clara, please tell me you're not thinking of taking him back. I swear if you are." "No, no, it's not that. I want to make him pay." I felt a rush of determination as I spoke. "What, like Karma style, you want him to trip on the sidewalk?" She laughed, but I could hear the nervousness in her voice. "Something like that," I said, tightening my grip on the phone. "I need a plan." "Something big." There was a pause on the other end, and I imagined her chewing on her lower lip, as she always did when she was thinking. "Clara, I know you're hurting, but revenge isn't the answer." "You don't understand," I insisted, urgency coursing through my veins. "He left me for someone who thinks she's so much better than me. I need him to see just how much he has lost." Maeve let out a long breath, her frustration growing with each passing second. "Okay, but think about this carefully. What exactly do you want to do?" I leaned back against the wall, the old wood groaning under my weight. I closed my eyes and envisioned Walter. His smile that used to light up my world now felt like a shadow creeping in to engulf me. "I want him to feel what I felt. I want him to lose everything just like he took it from me." "Clara," her voice softened, "I know you are hurt, but this could go too far. You don't want to become someone you're not." But even as she spoke, I felt that fire flickering inside me, brighter than ever. "Listen, Maeve, I've thought it through. If he thinks he can just walk out of my life, then I will show him how wrong he is." Her sigh echoed through the receiver, filled with concern but also a thread of reluctant support. "All right, I'm in, but promise me you will think this through. I do not want to see you hurt again." "I promise," I replied, even though deep down, I knew I couldn't see a way back from this. I was already too far in. "Okay, think about his weak points. What do you think he values most?" "His reputation for sure," I reminded her, a smile creeping to my lips at the thought. "And maybe his new girlfriend, Hannah, right?" "Yeah, Hannah," Maeve said. "You think we could do something with that?" My mind started working faster, the thrill of plotting making my heart race. "Oh, you have no idea, Maeve. I have a plan that will knock Walter off his feet." "Okay, I'm listening." As I paced the small confines of my room, the rain continued to batter against the windows. Ideas swirled like the storm outside, each one more deliciously wicked than the last. The thought of Walter realizing that I was no longer the person he discarded invigorated me. No longer would I be his afterthought. The power began to shift as I found my voice, my confidence building as I shared my plan with Maeve. We could stage a little scene that shows him exactly who I am. Maybe I could flirt with someone he hates, make him lose his cool. "That's a start," Maeve said carefully. "But that is still not guaranteed." "I know how we'll get him," I interrupted, leaning against my dresser, heart pounding with newfound ambition. I had to see all of this through. "I'll show him a version of myself that he has never seen." The old Clara was weak, but this one will teach him a lesson. The conversation continued, both of us brainstorming ideas that could uproot his unsuspecting existence. I envisioned the moment, the look on his face when he realized that he had made a fatal mistake. No longer would I wait for an apology that would never come. The rain dripped with cold precision as resolve hardened in me. This was not just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my power, my strength, the dignity he had stolen from me. Every word was a promise I would keep to myself. You got this, Clara, I muttered under my breath, brushing a tear away as a fierce determination spread through me. You are going to make him remember. Just like that, I hung up the phone, alone again but far from lonely. Through that stormy night, I stitched together a plan, each thread infused with hope and revenge. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a wicked dive into my own heart's darkest chambers, where my true power would awaken. The power of a woman scorned the early morning sun peeked through the partially drawn curtains of my small apartment, casting soft golden rays across the cluttered room. I sat on the edge of my bed, the rough texture of the old quilt tickling my bare legs. My mind raced like an out-of-control train, careening toward an inevitable crash. I could still hear Jake's laughter echoing in my ears, a cruel melody that replayed in my mind. All those moments he shared with Amy, betraying the trust we built over the years. The very thought sent a shiver through my spine, igniting a raw anger deep within. I stood up, the cool hardwood flooring biting at my feet as I stepped toward the mirror hanging on the wall. My reflection stared back, eyes narrowed, lips pressed together in a thin line. You can get through this, Clara, I whispered to myself, my voice reverberating in the quiet room. You'll make them pay. I felt powerful in that moment, envisioning the plan forming in my mind. I pictured Jake's shocked face, the way he would open his mouth to speak, but no words would come out. I could almost taste the sweetness of victory. After a few deep breaths, I dug through the pile of clothes on the floor, finding my favorite pair of dark jeans and a well-worn graphic tee. I threw on a leather jacket that always made me feel tougher, someone who could take on the world, someone who wouldn't let anyone walk over her ever again. I glanced at my phone, the screen lighting up with notifications. None of them mattered, but one caught my eye, a text from Sarah, my best friend. Hey, you coming to the cafe later? We need to talk. I typed back, I'll be there. I knew she meant well, but I wasn't ready to share my plans with anyone just yet, not even her. When I arrived at the cafe, the bell above the door jingled, and the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and pastries wafted through the air, wrapping around me like a warm hug. It felt comforting, yet it also reminded me of all those brunches I'd shared with Jake, those dreams I once had about a future with him. Guilt gnawed at my insides, but I pushed it away like an annoying fly. Sarah was already sitting at our usual table, fingers wrapped around a steaming mug. Her curly hair bounced as she waved me over, that vibrant energy of hers always drawing me in. Clara, you made it. I was starting to think you were going to ditch me for another day of wallowing, she said, a teasing smirk on her lips. Would I do that to you? I replied, allowing a smile to break through my mask. She studied me for a moment, her expression shifting from lighthearted to serious. You look intense. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Just a lot on my mind, I said, brushing off the topic. I slid into the seat across from her, wrapping my fingers around my own cup, appreciating the warmth seeping into my skin. Clara, you can tell me anything. I'm your best friend, Sarah insisted, her eyes locked onto mine, concern lacing her voice. I know I appreciate you, I replied, taking a slow sip of the coffee, feeling the bitter richness slide down my throat. But right now, I just need to focus on myself. You know I need to get my life together again after everything. Okay, I get it. Just remember, I am here when you are ready to talk. She flashed a reassuring smile, her support grounding me in this chaotic sea of emotions. We chatted about random things, latest Netflix series, funny TikTok videos, stories about her work at the animal rescue. But in the back of my mind, the countdown to my revenge was steadily ticking away. I could feel it begin to bubble under my skin, a frantic energy propelling me forward. I could not ignore it. So, what are your plans for the weekend? Sarah asked, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. I hesitated, my mind going back to Jake and Amy's sudden gaze filled with unspoken love that had burned me like acid. I might have a few things to take care of, I said, choosing my words carefully, trying to mask the edge in my voice. You know, some personal projects. Personal projects. Sarah raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued but not pushing me further. Sounds interesting. Just promise you will keep me in the loop. Absolutely. Promise, I said, forcing a lightness in my tone while my heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. As we left the cafe, I noticed a few familiar faces pass by, friends from college, couples smiling as they strolled hand in hand. It only stung more, those moments intertwined with bitter memories of Jake. My heart hardened and I set my jaw, reminding myself of my motive. I glanced at Sarah. I'm going to head home and start working on my plans, I declared, trying to sound casual. All right, just don't go full on psycho on me, okay? She chuckled, though her eyes held a hint of uncertainty. And what if I do? I shot back with a mischievous grin, a confident facade masking the storm inside. Then I will stage an intervention. She laughed as I waved goodbye, heart pounding as I walked away. I could feel my skin tingling with anticipation. At that moment, I was ready to dive into the dark waters of my twisted feelings, to embrace them as old friends. Back at my apartment, I flipped through notes and old documents littered around my desk. I would start by reaching out to some familiar faces that still had connections with Jake, a few friendly acquaintances who wouldn't think twice about spilling the beans about his life after our breakup. I chose my words carefully. Everything needed to be perfect. I sat down in front of my laptop, fingers poised above the keys, a smile creeping onto my face like a secret waiting to be unleashed. The keys clicked rhythmically as I composed my first message, reaching out to a former colleague of Jake S. The words flowed, filled with innocent curiosity about how he was doing. Would he respond? I felt a thrill at each word, building the tension like a finely spun web. The moment my finger hit send, I felt a rush, a powerful high that dulled the sting of betrayal. It was just the beginning, but it felt good. An hour passed. I decided to take a break. My stomach growled, reminding me I had scarcely eaten all day. Rummaging through the fridge yielded less than expected, an old slice of pizza and a soda that had lost its fizz. This life felt too empty, but for now, nothing mattered except the plan unfolding in my mind. The sudden ping of a notification on my phone snapped me out of my thoughts. It was a text from Jake. Hey Clara, I've been thinking about you. Can we talk? My heart raced, anger boiling to the surface. How could he even think that we could just pick up where we left off? Talk? Why should I talk to you? You made your choice, Jake. I typed fiercely, but something held me back from hitting send right away. I realized I no longer wanted to be a victim in this story. Jake had to understand the consequences of his actions, but it was not going to be through a simple chat. Instead of sending my angry response, I took a deep breath. Let him sweat a little. You have bigger things to focus on, I told myself bitterly. I locked my phone and turned my attention back to the bounty of revenge awaiting me. As I sat back down, the chair creaked beneath me like an old acquaintance returning from the past. I leaned over the desk, filling the empty pages of my plan. It was time to become the orchestrator of my own fate, the avenger with a cause. The fire of determination filled my veins as I continued to plot my moves, a master strategist. And at that moment, I stopped being the victim of Jake's betrayal. I was no longer Clara Jennings, heartbroken and shattered. I was a force waiting to be unleashed. The dark waters were calling, and this time I was ready to swim. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a silvery glow across the quiet streets of Maplewood, Ohio. Sitting in my car in the dimly lit parking lot of Miller's Diner, I watched the patrons move in and out, laughing and chatting like everything in life was perfect. But for me, nothing felt perfect, not after what Ethan had done. I turned the ignition off, the engine falling silent, but my furious thoughts roared louder than ever. How could he betray me like that? I could still hear the mocking tone of his voice in my head, the way he had laughed as he shattered everything I held dear. You really thought I wouldn't find out? He had said, his smirk venomous as he taunted me about my secrets. The memory was fresh like an open wound. I felt the anger rise within me, a boiling pit of rage that begged for release. I needed a plan. I pulled out my phone, the screen illuminated, and I opened a group chat titled Revenge Squad. I typed furiously, my fingers flying over the screen, each message fueled by the fire inside me. Meeting at the diner in 10, we need to talk strategy. I hit send, looking out the window, waiting for my friends to arrive. A few minutes later, Bella appeared, her curly hair bouncing as she walked up to my car. She leaned in, her expression serious. What did you find out? She asked, searching my eyes for answers. I can't believe Ethan would do this, Clara. We thought he was different. He is not different, Bella. He played us both. He manipulated everything. I felt the heat of betrayal coursing through me again, and I let out a shaky breath. He's going to pay. Bella nodded, her look sharp. Good, I won't let him get away with this either, so what's the plan? Just then Marcus joined us, tall and broad, his usual charm replaced by a stern, focused energy. I got your message. What are we doing? We're going to ruin him, I said, my voice steady, revealing none of the turmoil raging inside me. I've figured out his weak points. This time I won't just stand back. Marcus leaned against my car, folding his arms. You're talking about revenge, Clara. You know it's risky. Are you sure you want to go through with this? I met Marcus's gaze, feeling the weight of his concern, yet it only solidified my resolve. More than anything, he needs to feel what he did to me. Bella leaned forward, her eyes bright with excitement. What do you have in mind? I took a deep breath, the words tumbling out, each idea more thrilling than the last. We use his own game against him. I say we expose him for the fraud he is. He's been lying about his job to impress people, telling everyone he works at Barnett's fine jewelry. But it's all fake. I found out he's just a cashier at the gas station. I watched their faces as the pieces began to fall into place. If we can leak this information, he'll lose face with everyone. We'll make sure he's humiliated. Marcus raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. How can we make that happen? With a smirk, I leaned back, feeling the adrenaline course through my veins. I know his favorite bar. His buddies hang out there and they talk a lot. We just have to drop some hints. Maybe even have someone casually mention they saw his real job listed online. That's brilliant, Bella chimed in, her voice filled with enthusiasm. And we can make sure it sounds believable. We need to plant the seeds. The excitement was electric in the air, and for the first time since Ethan's betrayal, I felt a bubbling sense of control. There's more, I said, lowering my voice conspiratorially. I overheard him bragging about this charity event he's organized for his job next week. We will attend and make sure everyone knows the truth before he even gets up to speak. Bella's eyes widened, sparkles of mischief dancing within them. We should dress to impress and show him how it's done. Make sure he feels completely outclassed. I nodded, allowing myself to imagine the looks on everyone's faces when they saw his facade crumbling. Exactly. We have to strike while the iron is hot. He'll think it's business as usual, but this time it's personal. Marcus chuckled, his demeanor shifting back to his usual self. I've been waiting for an excuse to have a little fun. Count me in. The sense of camaraderie among us felt like shielded armor, catching my falling pieces and strengthening my spirit. Each plan we made was a building block of revenge, becoming stronger with each layer we added. I could almost taste the sweetness of victory, the sense of power rushing through me. The diner had mostly emptied, and I glanced at the clock on the wall. We've got to head out. We meet there on Friday, and we have to look good. As we stepped outside, the chill of the night air wrapped around us, but it invigorated me. I was a storm brewing, ready to unleash on the world that had wronged me. I whispered under my breath, time to show Ethan Jennings who he thought he was messing with. Mark leaned close, his warm breath brushing against my ear. I'm here with you, Clara, all the way. We won't let you regret this. Bella linked her arm through mine, and together, we walked down the dimly lit parking lot, our spirits high. The thrill of revenge swirling in the air around us, the cold wind whipped through the darkened streets of Maplewood, slicing through my coat and leaving a chill that seemed to seep into my bones. I wrapped my arms tightly around myself, an instinctual attempt to shield my heart from the memories that haunted me with every gust. I knew I was getting close to the final step of my revenge, the culmination of months of meticulous planning, sleepless nights, and unwavering focus. In the weeks since my world had been shattered, my life had taken a turn I never anticipated. My mind had transformed from a battlefield of confusion to a cold, calculating machine, the only goal being the defeat of those who had wronged me. As I walked toward the small coffee shop in downtown, the familiar aroma of roasted beans mingled with fresh-baked pastries. My stomach rumbled at the scent, but I pushed the hunger aside. My mind was too preoccupied with thoughts of the confrontation that awaited me. I had just received a text from Molly, my old friend, who had betrayed me in the worst way possible. She had stolen not just my chance at love, but also my future. My heart raced when I read her message, "Can we meet?" I need to explain. I had agreed, knowing I was walking straight into a trap of my own making. Inside the cafe, the warmth enveloped me like an old blanket, and the chatter of patrons faded into a hum. My eyes darted around, landing on the corner booth where my betrayal awaited me. Molly sat tapping away on her phone, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. I noted the way her hair fell perfectly over her shoulders, the effortless way she carried herself, oblivious as always to the chaos she had caused in my life. Every fiber of my being trembled with anger, tinged with a bitter sweetness that came from memories of our friendship, now tarnished. After taking a deep breath, I approached her. "Molly," I said, my voice steady but cold. The smile that broke across her face twisted something deep within me, a reminder of time spent laughing until our stomachs hurt. "Thanks for meeting me, Clara," she beamed, a light in her eyes that left me feeling even more conflicted. "I'm so glad you came. I really need to talk to you." I slid onto the worn leather seat opposite her, feeling the weight of countless conversations pressed into the cushions. "Is this about Jordan?" I couldn't help the bite that crept into my tone. His name tasted bitter on my tongue, a reflection of the pain he had inflicted. "Yes, I need you to understand." She leaned forward, her hands clasped together as if in prayer. "I did something truly horrible and I regret it." "Regret?" I scoffed, leaning back and crossing my arms, a protective shield against the vulnerability I felt creeping up. "You broke my heart, Molly. You don't just get to regret that and pretend everything is fine now." I know, I know. "I am so sorry, Clara. You have to believe me. I was stupid and impulsive. I thought he liked me more. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you." I stared hard at her, a thousand words swirling in my mind, but none of them came out. Part of me wanted to scream, to unleash the fury that had been building for what felt like an eternity. I wanted to let her see the damage she had done, the fracture in my soul that had left me empty and bitter. But another part of me wanted to understand, to listen to the reasons behind her foolishness. You took something from me, Molly. You took my trust and my dreams. Her eyes welled with tears, and I fought the urge to soften. Please just let me explain. I didn't think it would ever go that far. I thought we could all be friends. I never meant for any of this to happen. And yet here we are, I said, my heart pounding in my chest as the memories threatened to overwhelm me. How do I move forward from this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper as I clutched my coffee cup as if it were a lifeline. If you let me, I can help you, she said, the desperation etched in her face. I can make it right. I want to make it right. Make what right? I countered. You can't bring back the love I lost. You can't restore what you've broken. Whatever you're thinking can't undo the hurt. We can still fix things between us, she insisted, her voice rising with urgency. I can help you get back at him. I know things about Jordan he wouldn't want you to know. I can be an ally. The idea sank like a stone in my stomach, and I felt my insides twist. An ally, after everything? I narrowed my eyes at her. Why would I trust you, Molly? Your betrayal is still fresh. I get it, I messed up, but I have information that could change everything. You think I'm afraid of what he'll do to me? You're more important to me than he is. I want to help you get your revenge. It'll be our secret. Her eyes weren't pleading anymore. Instead, they sparkled with a mix of enthusiasm and fervor, a dangerous kind of excitement. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, envisioning a partnership born from this twisted turn of fate. It took everything in me to keep my expression neutral as I processed what she was suggesting. Revenge, my ultimate goal. And here stood the girl who had wronged me, offering to help unleash my fury upon the man who had betrayed us both. It was a goldmine, a chance to turn the tables, yet I was a battlefield of conflicting emotions. The anger, the desire for payback battled against my waning trust for my old friend. Could I really accept her offer? Would allowing her back into my life give her another chance to hurt me again? What do you know? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, sharply edged with both hesitation and intrigue. Molly leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. I know about his shady dealings. He's been lying to us, Clara. I overheard a conversation, and it sounded like he was involved in something illegal. The words settled heavily between us, and my mind raced. Jordan, the perfect boyfriend on the surface, was hiding things from me. The pieces of the puzzle started to click together, and a giddiness curled in my stomach, mixed with the bitterness of betrayal. My instinct was screaming to run, to slam the door on this conversation and walk away, but my thoughts darted wildly like moths drawn to a flame. What kind of illegal? Stuff he shouldn't be involved in. I think he's into something with some bad people, Clara. If we played it right, we could turn him against the very people he's been trying to impress, she said, her eyes gleaming with mischief. I leaned back in my seat, probing her eyes for the slightest hint of deceit. And why are you so willing to help me after what you did? Because I want to fix this. I want back the friendship we once had. Maybe I was wrong in judging what I thought was love, but I have seen the light. I see you, Clara. I see what's truly important, she replied, conviction seeping from her words. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat, her sincerity battling against the unseen currents of anger swirling within me. So, you want me to trust you, the same way I did before? Just think about it, please, she pressed, her hands gripping the table. This is our chance to not only take him down, but to take back what was ours. There's a way forward, we just need to work together. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm asking for a truce. The cafe around us buzzed with laughter and chattering voices, yet inside my mind, it felt deafeningly quiet as I tried to grasp the weight of the moment. The implications of her words sat heavy on my heart. I could either choose to engage, to plunge myself deeper into the chaos, or I could let fear guide me away into safer, less painful waters. I never imagined I would find myself on this precipice, staring out into the dark void of revenge, but there it was, a thrilling abyss, beckoning me closer to discover what lay beyond. Molly, I will consider it, I finally said, unsure of where this new path would lead but feeling an exhilarating rush that coursed through me at the prospect of taking action. The air hung heavy with tension as I stood before the entrance of Eric's upscale apartment in downtown Maplewood. My heart raced in my chest, the pounding louder than the city's usual cacophony. I could hear the faint honks of cars and the distant murmur of laughter from nearby bars, but all of that faded as I focused on the task at hand. This was the moment everything had led up to, the final act in the complex play of revenge that had consumed my life for the past several months. I took a deep breath and knocked firmly on the door, my pulse surging in rhythm with the sound. After a moment that felt like eternity, the door swung open to reveal Eric, his familiar smug grin plastered across his face. Clara, he exclaimed, surprise tinged with a hint of annoyance. What are you doing here? His casual demeanor made my blood boil, reminding me of the way he had discarded me when I needed him the most. I came to talk, Eric, I replied, forcing my voice to remain steady, though inwardly my mind raced with the memories of betrayal I had endured. I couldn't let him see any cracks in my resolve. Talk about what I thought we were done. He stepped aside, allowing me to enter. I hesitated before crossing the threshold into his world again, a world where he hadn't suffered for his actions. I took a deep breath, absorbing the scent of his apartment, a mix of expensive cologne and leather, distinctly his. How can you act like everything is fine after what you did? I narrowed my eyes, keeping my tone low and heated. Do you think I just forget? He chuckled, leaning against the door frame. You know that was a long time ago, Clara. We were never meant to last. You should have moved on. His words stung, igniting the fire I had buried deep inside. Moved on? I echoed, taking a step closer to him. You really think it is that easy? I spent months picking up the pieces you shattered. The sharp edge of my words sliced through the air as I felt a surge of confidence rising within me. Get dramatic. Rolled his eyes, revealing the arrogance I had tried to forget. We had fun. You were my fling. Why hold on to it? Because it was more than that for me? I shot back, my fists clenching at my sides. You hurt me, Eric. You think it was just fun? You left me in a mess and I had to rebuild my life from scratch. His expression shifted slightly, as though my words were finally hitting home. Clara, come on. You know I didn't mean to hurt you. It was just one of those things. We were too young. Young? I scoffed, my voice quaking with suppressed rage. You mean too selfish to see beyond your own needs? You never cared about me, did you? You just wanted to keep me around as a trophy. He stepped closer, and for a fraction of a second, I could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, almost like he regretted it. But his bravado returned, stronger than ever, as he smirked again. This is getting boring, Clara. If you came here to reminisce, you should know I have a busy schedule. Busy. I echoed, rage boiling within me like molten lava. No amount of fancy dinners and expensive suits can cover what you did to me. I had to make him understand the depth of his actions, to make him feel the consequences. Enough with the dramatics, he sneered, his voice sharp as glass. I'm done with this conversation. You should leave before you embarrass yourself. He started to turn away, dismissing me with the same attitude that had pushed me out of his life in the first place. Embarrass myself. I stepped forward, my voice suddenly steady and full of resolve. I'm not leaving until you understand what you did to me, Eric. You ruined me, you brought chaos into my life, and I'm here to make sure you feel the fallout too. He frowned, crossing his arms defensively. What are you going to do, scare me? Yes, I said simply, my heart thrumming with an electric pulse of adrenaline. I will make you realize the weight of your actions. I'll make you feel everything I felt. What do you think you're going to do? You can't just snap your fingers and undo anything, he shot back, his bravado faltering slightly as he squinted at me, probably gauging just how serious I was. Maybe I can't erase what happened, but I can make sure you never forget. Every choice has a consequence, and it's time you learn what yours feel like. Is this some kind of threat? He asked, his tone shifting as if he were seeing a different side of me. You don't scare me, Clara. I let out a bitter laugh. I don't want to scare you. I want you to acknowledge your cowardice. You hid behind your privilege and your money, treating our relationship like it was nothing more than a game to you. Wow, you really think highly of yourself, he shot back, his eyes narrowing into slits. I think highly enough to realize I deserve better than the scraps you tossed my way. His expression darkened, and I could feel the air grow thicker, charged with unspoken words and unresolved tension. You think you can come here and talk to me like this without any repercussions? He growled, his voice going low. Repercussions? I challenged, stepping closer, invading his space. I could see a flicker of something behind his bravado, fear, regret. I couldn't pin it down, but I wanted him to know rage was coursing through me like electricity. What do you think happens when someone plays with a fire they can't control? You chose to play with my heart, Eric. Now you'll see the flames. Took a step back, and for a moment the confident mask melted away. You're serious, aren't you? His voice trembled slightly, a hint of the Eric I once knew. Yes, I am. I stood my ground, shaking with raw conviction. This is your lesson. No more running away from the choices you made. I'm wiring your world to remind you of what you did. He shook his head, disbelief clouding his features. You don't want to do this, Clara, trust me. No, trust me, you're going to wish you never crossed me. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from the kitchen, and we both jumped. I turned my head to see one of Eric's wine glasses shattered on the floor. What was that? I hesitated, but my gaze flickered back to him, catching the way he paled. Nothing, he snapped, but I could tell he was lying. Something was happening, something inside this apartment felt different, darker. The walls seemed to close in, and I could sense danger lurking just beneath the surface. Eric. I started, but he interrupted me, his expression shifting from indifference to alarm. Clara, you need to go now. Why? I asked, feigning ignorance, wanting to extract more from him. What's going on? To my surprise, he stepped backwards, nearly stumbling over the coffee table, and there was a frantic energy about him. Just leave, he urged, his voice rising with urgency. What's happening? Is someone here? My heart raced, adrenaline pumping through my veins as I braced for what might come next. He turned abruptly, eyes darting towards the entrance. You don't want to get involved in my mess? I am involved, I shouted back, not ready to back down because this was my chance to finally stand my ground. You dragged me into this. I deserve to know what is going on. He shook his head angrily, but that's when the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway outside, loud and relentless, crawling closer and closer. Clara, I swear to you, if you don't leave right now? No, I am not going anywhere, not until I get my answers. Before he could respond, the door burst open, revealing two imposing figures, clad in dark suits and sunglasses, their expressions hidden but their intentions evidently clear. My stomach dropped as I stood frozen in place, the reality of my own recklessness crashing down like a tidal wave. Eric Sinclair? One of them barked, their voice deep and authoritative. Who the hell are you? Eric snapped, taking a step back, panic plastered across his features. FBI, the other man declared, stepping inside with an air of command as the first man kept his gaze fixed on Eric. FBI? I breathed, the chaos of the moment finally hitting me like a whirlwind. Fear gripped my heart, pounding in rhythm with the revelation that rocketed through me. What do you want with him? He's being detained for questioning, the first agent said, and I could see Eric's expression shift from arrogance to realization. Wait, no, you've got this wrong. Eric backed up, glancing at me as if I were suddenly his last hope. Clara, you have to help me. I didn't do anything. My breath caught in my throat as the agents moved in, firmly grabbing his arms. Eric's bravado had vanished entirely, and all that was left was sheer panic. Help you? I trembled, shock overwhelming my senses as the pieces began to connect. I was standing at the collision point of revenge and justice, but this certainly wasn't how I envisioned it. My mind raced back to the months of planning, to the steps I took to bring him down, and here he was, unraveling before me. What's he being detained for? I managed to ask, my voice barely more than a whisper as Eric was ushered to the door, panic creeping back into his eyes. Suspicion of fraud, and it gets uglier from here, the second agent replied, voice steely and unwavering. I took a step back, shock weaving through me like a tightly wound thread. The man I had sought vengeance against was now staring at me as though I were the one who had tied the noose around his neck. Clara, please? He pleaded, desperation drowning out his earlier arrogance. You have to believe me, this is a misunderstanding. I felt something shift within me as I observed his transformation from the unyielding jerk I once knew into a man on the brink of collapse. I can't help you, I said softly, my heart a jumble of conflicting emotions. You made your choices, Eric. The agents pulled him away, and as he fought against their hold, I could see his world unraveling. Maybe this was my justice, but it was also the moment I realized my quest for revenge had morphed into something else, an unintended catalyst for his downfall. As they dragged him toward the elevator, Eric turned one last time, his expression a mix of anger and helplessness. You'll regret this, Clara. Not as much as you will, I whispered, though I doubted he could hear me beneath the din of the conversations buzzing around us. But deep down, I knew that this moment would haunt me long after the door finally closed behind him. And as silence settled upon me, I realized that revenge was never as clear-cut as I thought. It could twist into something unpredictable, like the flickering shadows around me. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to let go of the flames and seek my own path, the one away from the pain that had guided me for far too long.